Welcome back to Good Vibes and Bad Decisions. We've got an amazing case for you today, and it is Quinn's turn to bring a case to the table. Say hi, Quinn.
Hello, motherfuckers.
So, pull up a seat, grab a brew,
Mhm.
snuggle up close, because Quinn is about to take us on a little journey. Take it away, my babe.
Listen, this story, right, has probably been covered so many times, but I have to tell it my way. It has lived rent-free in my head for years. And this story is mad, okay? So this is a story of JonBenet Ramsey, Forever Six. Okay, I'm gonna just go right into it, guys. And I'm
Let's
gonna
go.
blow your mind. Right, cuddle up with Gypsy. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. So, guys, JonBenet Ramsey was just 6 years old when she gained worldwide notoriety for something that no human, never mind a beautiful 6-year-old innocent little soul, should ever have to experience. This case has been spoken about by thousands of true crime podcasters, just like us, and each one has a different way of telling JonBenet's story. So here's mine. Boxing Day, 1996, in Boulder, Colorado. 911 receives a distressing call from Patsy Ramsey, claiming her 6-year-old daughter has been kidnapped, and the kidnappers left a ransom note with instructions which they must follow if they ever wanted to see her again. This call would remain one of the most infamous 911 calls in history, and to this day is still picked apart by sleuths online and experts trying to clear up the background and try and work out what was going on. I actually have a copy of this call, and we are going to insert it now.
Police.
What's going on?
555 15th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is
Yes.
gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's blonde. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone.
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says FBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been
No,
gone?
I don't. Please, we just got out and she's right here. Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please, there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath for
Please,
me, okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
So, welcome back, guys. That was the 911 call, and I'm going to now tell you a little bit about it. So, the call was placed, and police officers were dispatched to the Ramsey residence. 2 officers arrive at the scene, and immediately something strikes them about the situation. You see, Patsy, JonBenet's mother, was inconsolable. She was being placated by her best friends, whom the Ramseys actually called before calling the police. So when the police arrive, yep, there is already 2 more people in the living room. I swear, their daughter goes missing. She gets up in the morning, she walks down the stairs, and on the third or fourth step from the bottom, there is 2.5 pieces of paper, and the ransom note is on it. She reads the ransom note and calls their fucking best friends.
Well, that's not normal reaction for a start.
That's exactly what everybody in this whole case has said. It is wild. She calls her best friends and then she calls the police. Absolutely
Mm.
bizarre, guys. Totally bizarre, right? And a crime scene, by the way, which is essentially, I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, at this point, it's a suspected kidnapping or a definite kidnapping because the child ain't there.
Yeah.
So they've called 2 other people to the crime scene before even calling the police. So by the time the police get there, there's 2 other people in their crime scene.
Which is
Now,
completely compromised the crime scene, by the way.
yeah, now why would you call your friends early in the morning when something like this so horrendous happens and the police are not your first call. It's beyond belief to me. But that is what happened. So the officers had no choice but to manage the scene, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
actually had to get Benet Ramsey, John Bennett Ramsey, little John Benet's father. That is her namesake. So a lot of people are wondering. John Bennett Ramsey is her dad, and JonBenet is her name. Now, her mother and former Miss West Virginia, Patsy Ramsey, and also their 9-year-old son, Burke Ramsey, who it was claimed slept through the whole thing and was woken up by police and brought downstairs. And then finally, obviously, the two best friends, Fleet and Priscilla White, were both prominent figures in Boulder, by the way. They were all like high society people, Gypsy.
Oh, they're always the first people I suspect in anything, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah, but this whole crime
Money breeds
scene was now.
madness.
Yeah, there was inundated with people, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the ransom note, which was given to the police, actually was 2.5 pages long, and it read something like out of a movie. The note included words like, "We are a foreign faction. We have abducted your daughter. Pay us $118,000 to get her back. And if you do not comply, she will be dead. Don't try to grow a brain, John." Now, what does this remind you of?
That's a movie quote. Where have I heard it from before?
Speed. That's where you've heard it from.
Oh.
The movie Speed, when he's on the bus and he's calling them, he's on the phone with them.
Mm-hmm.
That right, the entire house, right, was like littered with movie posters in frames everywhere, all those kind of movies, right? All the thriller movies and everything like that.
Yeah.
So this letter has actually got so many unique characteristics, like the fact it was written on paper from the Ramsey household, by the way, with a Sharpie also belonging to the Ramseys, by the way. Now, we do actually think, right? Now, do you think, be honest, that a kidnapper is going to break into somebody's house, take the time, risking the chance of being discovered, to sit at a writing desk and write out a 2.5 page ransom note full of movie quotes? And the amount they demand, listen to this, is actually
That's a really weird
coincidentally,
amount.
it's the exact amount of money that John Ramsey was gifted from his job as a president and CEO of Access Graphics. That was giving to him this healthy bonus as a Christmas present. That's it.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't mind a Christmas present like that, just
Yeah,
saying.
me
But
too. So if
second of all,
anybody's
that's a very
interested,
specific amount.
yeah. $118,000 is the exact amount that JonBenet Ramsey's dad got as a Christmas bonus from Access Graphics, by the way. John Ramsey was very wealthy. He was previously a naval officer and he progressed on to working in the graphics business. Now, he was more than able to pay up to and probably millions to get his daughter back. So asking for the exact amount he got in the bonus tells you that it's somebody that has that knowledge. Now, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know about you, but I would not share my financial, like my financial amounts, what I earn and what I receive with
No,
anybody that I did not completely and utterly trust.
no, definitely not. So
Like
that
you wouldn't.
tells me that it's either him himself,
Mm-hmm.
um, someone who was part of the like the payroll team
Yep.
at his work, or
Mm-hmm.
his boss.
Yep.
Like that narrows it down really, really specifically.
Exactly, right? So that gives them a very small circle to work with. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
police also found in the trash a discarded and unused draft of the ransom note. And this was actually investigated, yep, by a team of professionals. And it took each of them, get this, between 20 and 30 minutes to complete the note and copy the writing. Guys, that's insane. Like,
You know
that's
the phrase.
insane.
You know the phrase "more money than sense."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a phrase for no reason. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Like, who actually is going to break into your house, kidnap your daughter, and then whilst trying to keep her quiet and not wake anybody else up in the residence, sits at your own writing desk and spends 30 minutes on a ransom note and then throws a draft in the trash because it obviously wasn't good enough.
Okay, so you've got me hooked.
Right?
I'm
You
in.
ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Right.
Because I knew nothing about this case before the podcast, so I'm fresh to this. And listen, you've already got me hooked. Like, let's go.
So, who breaks into a house and has the confidence that they will not wake anybody up and spends 30 minutes writing a ransom note? There was also a massive movie influence, like we were just saying, in the note, and quotes from movies like Speed, Ransom, and Ruthless People. Now, walking around the house, officers noted that there was all of these movies and so many more posters in glass frames around the property. Linguistic experts have analysed this note in depth. There was a whole documentary on it, right? And they have all reported that this note was written this way to purposely deceive investigators. So, quotes, "We are a foreign faction. We These certain quotes, don't try and grow a brain, John. Like, we want 118,000, 2.5 pages, when really all they needed to write was, I've got your daughter, pay this money, wait on the call. If you don't, she dies, right? But in
Yeah.
the actual note, it's, don't try and grow a brain, John. If you call the cops, she dies. If you tell anyone, she dies. If you bark like a dog, she dies. Da 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 da, she dies. Constantly, constantly, constantly. Now, and they also said a male writing a letter like that would literally go in and say, "We have your daughter. If you don't do what we're telling you to do, she's going to die."
Yeah,
Females tend
they
to be the
wouldn't get
ones,
creative with it. Like,
yeah, they wouldn't. Females tend to be the ones that are over-explanatory, right? And they
hmm
try and get their point across and they go up blah, 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 right? So we'll go into that a little bit later. But officers were noting that day that Patsy was being comforted by their close friends. Also, John Ramsey was noted to be calm and going about his daily business. Motherfucker was opening his mail and calling his office and planning on having a pilot to his private plane so he could fly out to an important meeting. So your daughter's been kidnapped, there's a 2.5 page ransom note, house is full of police, and you're oiling up the jet.
I wish you could see my facial expression right now, because it's kind of like, huh?
Yeah, swear. You could not make this up. It is impossible. I am telling you. Trying to gauge the gravity of the situation, one of the officers asks John to check the house from top to bottom. And they ask him to take part with Fleet White, who was his best friend, and look for any clues or anything that might be missing. Obviously, officers wouldn't know, so this is why they asked the family to do a sweep. And
Yeah.
that could have been taken with their daughter by her kidnappers, right?
hmm
Go and check the house top to bottom. Let me know if anything's out of place or missing. Agreeing, he joins Fleet, but he directs Fleet to the basement, which the officer actually thought was really strange, given the specific instructions to go from top to bottom.
hmm
Now, you think this is such a really small detail to focus on, right? But hold on and follow me through this. John Ramsey walks straight into the basement, returns in distress with the little broken body of JonBenet Ramsey in his arms. He places her on the coffee table, and everybody in the room falls silent. The 6-year-old beauty queen was now a coroner's inquest. She was now property of the state. She was now battered, beaten, tasered, and strangled with a makeshift garrote around her throat. She now was a case number on a detective's desk, a misused and violated case. That would make the family, the police officers, and even the 911 call dispatcher and the district attorney famous. She was innocent. She was a rising star in the pageant world. She loved playing with her dolls, talking to the gardener, and rolling in all of the leaves he raked, and laughing so loud. And now she is the name at the centre of one of America's biggest controversies. Officers call for detectives whilst John Ramsey moves her body again from the table to the rug on the floor. Patsy is screaming the house down, and Burke Ramsey is sat stone cold on the sofa and hasn't said a word. Now, Jeps,
There are so many wrongs with that whole scene that you've just so many things wrong with that whole scene that you just described. First of
Mhm.
all, why did he disturb the crime scene again?
Mhm.
Second of all, why would he move his daughter's dead body? I wouldn't be able to touch my child's dead body.
Mhm.
other
And
than
also,
to hold it. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be
if
able
I
to
was
hold
to
it.
say to you, like, can you go and search top to bottom and make sure that there's nothing missing, right? The first thing you would do is go to the highest point of the
Right to the
property
top of
and
the
work your way
house and
down.
work your way down.
Where did John go?
He went to the bottom. Like,
To
no.
where she was found. To
Like, even when we're
exactly where
cleaning,
she
we
was found.
start at the top and work our way down. It's just natural to bring things to the front of the house, right?
Mhm. Yep.
But
It is bizarre.
why is he moving her body again?
Why is he laying her on display on a coffee table?
And why is the son being allowed to witness it? My first thought would be get my other child out of the vicinity
Hmm.
so that they don't have to witness this and live with this for the rest of their lives.
Yep. It is absolutely wild. I told you this was going to be a wild ride. I've never investigated a case like this before, where there is so many outcomes. Do you know what I mean? And there's so many wrongs on the
Mhm.
way along the way that actually like being able to have any kind of outcome in the case is pretty much impossible. So the house becomes a homicide scene, and the Ramseys are asked to come down and talk to detectives and leave the home so that it can be processed and, evidence collected and whatnot. The Ramseys then start obstructing the investigation, and I'm sure you're not shocked by this. They
No, no,
actually ban them from talking to Burke after just one videotaped interview with a social worker. The Ramseys also give one interview to the police and then put an order in place for them to go through their attorney, who you can imagine with the money that they have, the police were effectively being stonewalled. Talking to the Ramseys became impossible.
Okay,
So,
so if you're an innocent parent and you have nothing to hide, you would throw open your entire world to solve the case of who murdered your child. You would
yep.
throw open the doors. You would be like, talk to who you need to do, whatever you need to do, whatever it takes. I will comply.
Hmm. They literally, there's a videotape and it's on the internet, it's on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch it. They video interviewed Burke Ramsey, her 9-year-old brother, and the social worker who interviewed him actually was left with chills. He was playing with a car, he was swinging on a seat, he was talking about food. He was saying that his sister was killed, he doesn't know who done it, he slept through it, and he was talking about all his favourite things he likes to do. And each of the statements he made were made in the exact same way, like, I'm going to go and get some bread from the shop, I killed my sister, I'm thinking I'm going to get a new bike next Christmas, like that.
So it's rehearsed.
Yeah, very much. He had no emotion in the interview. There was no emotion, and that's what was stated. And that is the one thing that keeps being brought up every single time this case is discussed. That Burke Ramsey had zero emotion over the murder of his sister. None. He was talking about it like he was talking about someone at school, or, but it was definitely not um upsetting. That was not a child in distress whatsoever, considering
So
what we know he's already seen.
I need to ask a couple of questions there.
Yeah.
Um, given that I know it's 20 years ago or 20 plus
Yep.
years ago, but given their money and their access to healthcare, etc., was Burke ever diagnosed with anything to do with the autistic spectrum, any mental health disorders, any like bipolar disorders,
Yeah.
anything like
Well,
anything?
so there is a channel on YouTube, guys. They're amazing. You need to head over. They're called the Behavior Panel, and it is just a group of body language experts, very famous, very certified. So Burke Ramsey appeared on Dr. Phil show.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was like I have the dates further down, but he appeared on Dr. Phil, and he was very smiley, laughy, giggly, and nervous all the way through it. These body language experts actually analysed that interview, and all four of them had said that he shows massive autistic signs. and these are very clear reactions for someone on the spectrum. So,
Okay.
although there's never been any official diagnoses that's been released by the Ramseys on paper or anything, these four very prominent body language experts, they teach body language tactical courses and teams.
Hmm.
You know, one of them works for the leaders of the G7. They're very prominent men, and all of them have said that this whole interview was classic, you know, autism, clear
Okay,
signs of
I just
autism.
asked that question because I wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit there,
Yeah,
because you know, people with certain conditions don't respond emotionally in the way that
that's right.
you would generally expect.
Yeah,
But also, children with autism can be taught by repetition.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. But yeah, so they were basically saying that, you know, he shows very clear signs, autism, Asperger's, something like that, but there's
Hmm.
never been a diagnosis. And I don't know if they ever like sought one out. It's never
Yeah,
been reported, anything like that. It's never been done. But he did have a really nasty temper, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but he did show other signs.
yeah.
When the note was tested, the handwriting experts ruled out John Ramsey, but they could not rule out JonBenet's mother, Patsy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, see, I think there's a 1 to 5 scale when they are analysing handwriting. And 1, you definitely did it, 5, you never, or the other way around, and she was bang in the middle. So they completely ruled out her husband, but were unable to rule out her. So that's a little bit of food for thought, right?
Yeah, I'm just
But
I'm boggled. But
yeah,
like my flabber is gasted right now. So carry on, my babe. I'm not going to
it's
interrupt you. Go on.
actually crazy. No, you're absolutely fine. The autopsy, guys. So this is where, you know, this is going to be a little bit hard to hear, but you know, I do feel like it has to be read out. So the autopsy report was JonBenet Ramsey died of asphyxia by strangulation with craniocerebral trauma. Basically, her skull was burst open. She had suffered an 8.5-inch skull fracture. The coroner has to remove a white nylon cord with 2 large paintbrushes attached to either end from her neck. It was wrapped around her neck and twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted until she had passed away. The nylon cord was that tight it was embedded in her skin. They also note small vaginal abrasions and a ligature around her right wrist. Her stomach contents were noted that she had consumed a small amount of pineapple and milk before her death. The Ramsays put a gagging order on the Whites, whom they had called upon the morning of JonBenet's death, so that they could not report to the police, the public, nor the TV stations, asking for statements. They also done this to their housekeeper, gardener, and several of their employees. After some time, the Whites had removed themselves from the company of the Ramseys, amid fears they were guilty of this crime and the controversy that was surrounding them. They were approached by a team of detectives and experts on linguistics and forensics, which had been assembled many years later to recreate and try and find some answers in this case. And Fleet actually did agree to talk to them, but without any cameras. What he had to say has never ever been released to the public. So let's go to possible reasons JonBenet died and who could have committed the crime.
Okay.
So The Burke did it conspiracy. That suggests that Burke Ramsey, JonBenet's big brother, who was 9 at the time, accidentally killed his little sister over a snack, that snack being the pineapple and milk that I previously had spoken about, and that his mother and father staged the kidnapping to cover it up. And the theory goes like this. JonBenet, after a long car ride home, visiting family and friends on Christmas Day, walked into the kitchen, pinched a piece of Burke's pineapple, leading him to fatally strike her on the head with a flashlight given to JonBenet Ramsey for Christmas. Now, they think that he had strucken her with this big flashlight and she obviously fell unconscious to the ground. They think that John and Patsy thought she was dead, staged the crime, wrapped it round her neck, and essentially that's how she died. Because we know that obviously Burke never made a garrote and choked her, right? So the Burke did it theory goes like that, basically. And the characteristics of the ransom note, with it being unusually long and rambling, actually, they thought that was a parent cover up and it was all done to deceive the police and save their son from jail. Burke Ramsey has maintained his innocence and he's only spoken out once, and that was on a very strange interview on Dr. Phil, and it was 2016, Gypsy. And he claims that the killer was an unknown paedophile who stalked JonBenet from her beauty pageants and would sit in the audience. Now, let me touch on what we know about Burke and his sister's relationship so that everybody can understand why so many people have signed up to this theory, okay? So every single person who was interviewed, including friends of little JonBenet and Burke at the time, and some employees who you could consider as whistleblowers of the Ramseys, I suppose, all said that Burke was horrible to his sister, with one of them actually telling the detectives that he struck her with a golf club in the face, causing bruising and Patsy to have to cover it up with makeup. Reports are suggesting that Burke hated his mother giving JonBenet so much attention, entering her in pageant after pageant after pageant and celebrating all of her wins, constantly dressing her up and taking her away for days at a time, leaving Burke behind with nannies and his dad, and when his dad was home, right? Investigators did consider Burke a suspect for a really long time, claiming that this shows a clear escalation in his behaviour. Like, he would trip her up and pull her hair and do some horrible things to her bedroom, which I'm not going to go into here. And
Okay,
some
they've got to be bad then.
yeah, there was some claims online that he would put feces in her room.
Wow.
Yep, honestly. So it shows a clear-cut conflict in the household anyway, if nothing. Friends of Burke claim he was very boastful, he would always have to be better than them, he would have the latest of this and the best of that, and he would, on lots of occasions, act like a spoiled brat. And he would never, ever, ever let his little sister play or join in with him and his friends. Even if she was sitting on her own when their parents were busy, he never would allow her to be included. Now, Burke wasn't good at football, he wasn't good at baseball, he never did any of these things. Burke liked to play golf, he liked things that alienated you, I suppose, and kept you socially awkward. And
Solitary,
yeah,
solitary
yeah. But
activities,
he
yeah.
had a hatred for his sister because he felt like, he was the apple of his mother's world until she came along. And
Yeah,
he feels like because his father was away all the time, he felt like she stole his mother. And on so many occasions, her friends had spoken out as well in lots of documentaries because they are no longer holding silence. They've spoken out on lots of documentaries and they are saying that he was horrible to her, he was mean, he would say spiteful things. And he would always, when his mother was with her, Burke would say spiteful things to his mother. It would be really horrible to them both. So all of these reports basically suggest that he hated his mum giving JonBenet attention, right? And we also know that Burke spent a lot of time with her nannies and with other sort of adults, and he resented all of that. He absolutely hated it because he wanted to be with his mother. So they're saying basically she came in, took a little bit of his pineapple, and when children are like that, it's like, this is mine. You've already stolen my mother. You've stolen this. You've stolen that. You get the best of everything, and now you're
Yeah,
taking
children
that, and
can't
then
regulate emotions in the
yeah,
same way that adults can. I do have to pose one question though, and it's just occurred to me.
hmm
You said at one point that 9-year-olds don't garrot, right?
well, he would not know what it was and how to do it, and he
I need
wouldn't
to
be
pose
able.
an answer to that. I need to pose an answer to that because at that time, 20 odd years ago, the internet was a thing, but it wasn't monitored in the same way that it is today. There weren't the restrictions that there are today. Like when 20 years ago, you signed up for an MSN account and like you'd have all of the P3DOs sending you stuff. And I know you won't have like that same experience, but the internet
Yeah,
was a really dangerous place to be. So there would have been nothing stopping a child of that age who was clearly given the best of everything because that was the way that I can gather because I form like pictures in my brain. Absent mother, absent father, nannies. So give them the best of everything, they'll be quiet and shut up, right?
yep,
So it's highly likely he had a computer in his bedroom.
yeah.
So he would have looked up ways to do this, or he would have been watching films or videos online that were inappropriate for his age group. But the parental guidance, the parental controls thing, that wasn't so much a thing then.
Yeah. But the theory is his mother and father covered it up because he would never have been able to carry her like dead weight down to the basement, wrap her
Hmm.
up and taser her, and also write the 2.5 page ransom note.
Yeah, no, the parents definitely covered it up.
Yep, 100%. When the coroner examined her body, there was two marks on her side, like almost on her back at the bottom, and they couldn't work out what it was for the longest time. They actually thought, so down in the Ramsey's basement, they had like this large train track on a table, and Burke
Hmm.
and his dad would go down and play with the trains, and where she was found is actually where the train tracks were. Now, in that same room, it was covered in posters of like speed and ransom and all of these things. All it was like a games room,
Yeah.
and that's where she was found. Now, she was found there in the same room. There was a very small window and it got broken a long time ago, and they had just never bothered fixing it, right? They used to just put something in front of it because like it was really, really small.
Yeah.
And back then it was considered super safe, and you know what I mean? There was a lock to get
Hmm.
into the house from the basement and all this. But there was a suitcase pushed up to that tiny little window, and when it was further investigated, you could see that there was cobwebs and it had been there for a really long time. They were quite prominent into the window. So with the window already being small and the cobwebs not being disturbed, the suitcase that was put underneath the window was thought to have just been a ruse. When
Hmm.
they reconstructed the entire Ramsey house on a documentary to try and see if they could help solve this case, they rebuilt and reconstructed all the inside of the Ramsey house, every room perfectly to crime scene photos. And the male detectives, none of them could fit through. The female detective fit through, but when she managed to fit through the window, she needed help on the other side and also disturbed all of the cobwebs. Everything was disturbed. So even with a female, very small and petite, going through that window, all of the cobwebs and the natural things were all disturbed. So that whole thing was definitely created to guise the detectives into thinking the home intruder theory, which
Yeah.
has been proved time and time again to be absolute bull. But they do have another theory. So there is a parents theory.
Okay.
Right, so
Yeah.
the parents' theory is whether or not JonBenet's parents actually killed her or not is highly up to debate. Though John and Patsy were officially cleared in 2008 due to the new DNA evidence, and the parents have consistently denied the murder. Some people have theorized that JonBenet was a bedwetter, and this frequently angered Patsy. She would on some occasions pull her out the bed, scold her for this. For years, the public all thought Patsy had been the one to write the ransom note, and whether she did the deed herself or she was covering up for her son, the one thing remained at the top of people's minds. She was never cleared by experts on writing that note. Patsy Ramsey passed away in June 2006 at the age of 49 at her father's home in Roswell after a battle with ovarian cancer. She is buried next to her daughter at St. James Cemetery in Marietta. James Ramsey has authored a book and he continues to try and raise awareness on his daughter's death and has said he hopes for a resolution before his time comes so he can rest easy in the netherworld. There was a few other suspects, but they were all cleared and they are now no longer of interest to Boulder police. This little girl was robbed of her innocence, her childhood, long before she was killed in that house of horrors. Friends of the family have said JonBenet suffered at the hands of not just her brother's constant attention-seeking and bullying, but her mother's insistence on her competing in pageants and the lengths Patsy would go to for JonBenet to win. She would dye JonBenet's hair blonde, bleaching it every 3 weeks, and caking her little face in makeup. And after watching JonBenet in her pageants, her mother was essentially dressing her up and displaying her as a mini Marilyn Monroe. I will insert a small clip here of JonBenet in the pageant, and you can make up your own mind. But she was sending her on stage for all predators of all areas to see. She was dressed in skimpy outfits, bleached hair, and red lipstick at 6 years old. And after watching JonBenet in her pageants, her mother was essentially dressing her up and displaying her as a mini Marilyn Monroe and sending her on stage for all predators of all areas to see. She was dressed in skimpy outfits, bleached hair, and red lipstick at 6 years old. Her part in words to her best friend was, "I do this for my mum, not me." And that, my friends, is where she is now, with her mum. Cold and robbed, buried deep underground, when she should be experiencing all her firsts and living, breathing, giggling, and even crying with her friends. She did not ever deserve to end up on a true crime episode, but somebody needs to tell her story, and that somebody today is me.
I feel like I've been punched in the throat. I am so choked up. Like,
It's
I
wild,
have
right?
so
She
many
does these little
questions.
pageants. Yeah, I'm all good. You can ask away anything. So she does these little pageants and she's dressed in a little cowgirl outfit, bright red lipstick, huge blonde hair, and she sings a little cowgirl song, but it is horrific to actually watch. And the family are trying to like sort of part out the narrative that it was a crazed paedophile from a pageant. Also, they have accused the man who played Santa Claus. Every year, Patsy would hire someone to play Santa Claus and come just before Christmas and give the children gifts. And she's trying to say that the guy who done this to her was the last year's dressed up Santa Claus who was completely cleared. Also, there was another one male who was a paedophile. He was no longer out of prison and he lived near the area. He was also cleared. I want to say and cover the DNA evidence that they found. The DNA evidence that they found was found on the underwear of JonBenet Ramsey. Now, the underwear was brand new, bought for Christmas. And I'm sure you know that when you get new underwear and stuff like that, I mean, it's recommended that we wash them before we wear them.
Yeah.
But JonBenet's was not washed. JonBenet's she was a bedwetter, right? So the underwear
So they
was
would
just
just
taken
have
out the
like a,
packet and put on her.
yeah, they would have a stash of underwear.
She was a bedwetter. She's a little girl.
Hmm.
So they put the underwear on her. Now, the underwear they tested had foreign DNA on it, not from anyone in the house. Very small, but foreign DNA. So we did a bit of research, and there's a documentary that was launched that I've been talking about in here, and it's on YouTube, and it's called Who Killed JonBenet Ramsey? So go and watch it. It's 2 or 3 parts, I'm sure, but it is a massive team of experts. They got a DNA analysis done on a brand new set of underwear, age 5 to 6. The expert checked the brand new, it opens it on the documentary, he takes the pants out the packet, he uses the cotton bud, he sends it away, and there are 2 foreign DNA markers on it. He runs the sample and he gets no hits. And he gets no hits because the underwear was made in a factory in China. The DNA is Chinese. Therefore, the person who packed the underwear and sewed the garments together and
He's
made
gonna leave the
them,
D- he's going to leave DNA behind.
there you go. So there's your foreign DNA in the JonBenet Ramsey case. That's what it is. And when you buy a new bra, you can, and you know, especially with things that you can touch in stores, how much DNA is on that, and you know, if you don't wash it.
Mhm.
And with a little bedwetter, my gyps, you know yourself when you know you've got children and they're small and they wet the
Yeah,
bed. You just buy stashes and stashes because you
yeah,
know
you
what?
do.
Underwear's cheap
You
and you
go
would
to the
rather
cheapest
just throw it
store.
out.
You
Hmm.
go to the cheapest store. You buy as much as you can of the cheapest underwear, and you just yeet it in the bin.
Get it right off, right in the bin, brand new, clean pair out the packet on. And that
Mm.
is exactly. And that's what you do as a mother. So you're not going to sit there and hand wash all of this like soiled underwear. You're just gonna throw it out. And that's someone like me or you, common people. Imagine the amount of expendable income Patsy Ramsey had.
Right?
Like she probably had a new set of underwear for every day of the year.
Probably.
So she's not going to be at a loss replacing her daughters. So that's where the DNA came from for that. So hit me with some questions if you've got any, because I'm all clued up on this case. I can help it.
I just have so many questions. I mean, I'm leaning into the Burke theory,
Yeah, same. Absolutely same. Everybody that I know,
and it's not because I'm wanting to blame a child, because a child is innocent anyway.
and
But
we're
we
only
all know,
speculating.
yeah. But we all know, there have been cases where children have killed before.
Hmm.
This is not unheard of. Um, and children are influenced by the world around them. And then the internet was not a new thing, it was easily accessible, but it was something that wasn't monitored the same way it is today.
Yeah,
There was no
absolutely.
parental control settings. Kids
Nope.
his age could have looked up anything they wanted.
Yeah,
Who's to say that he didn't, watch an episode of CSI and see something
exactly.
on that?
It's that easy. It is that easy.
So I'm just saying it's perfectly possible that a 9-year-old would be exposed to that kind of information. Especially 20 years ago. I think we're more cautious about that stuff now.
Yeah.
And we're more aware of the impact on the children and so on and so forth, and on how they emotionally regulate, and
Yeah,
but
I lean into the Burke theory. I believe that he did it with a flashlight, and then I believe Patsy thought she was already dead and took her to the basement, and then, done what she done to her as in out of the scene of a movie. Patsy and John Ramsey had a taser. And when they analysed the distance between the 2 marks on JonBenet's back and the distance between the 2 marks on the taser and on all standard issue tasers, may I add, they even, in this documentary, right, they even got a team of police officers and army soldiers into the compound that they were working in, and one of them actually took part in a test and allowed an expert to tase him to leave the marks. They measured the marks between the taser points and they covered it over JonBenet's body, the photograph, of
Mhm.
the exact, like, measurements, and one sat perfectly on top of the other.
So I'm
So
going to
she
posit a
was
theory.
tased.
I'm going to posit a theory, and then I'll explain why. So, and I'm not taking away from the theory that the mother was involved or the father was involved at all. But I know that children, as you do, especially around that age, um, they react off of emotion and strong emotion, like it's uncontrollable emotion at that age. They don't know how to regulate. So I'm thinking that Burke got annoyed that she'd taken some of his snack, maybe potentially tased her as a punishment. It's knocked her out because she was only tiny. He's then panicked. And then the other events have taken place, or he's grabbed hold of her and smacked her head against off of something, because,
Hmm.
and then
So I'm
because
with you on that one, right?
overkill,
Because,
all of the things that happen to her are overkill, right?
yeah, and they did an experiment where
Mm-hmm.
they actually got a lifelike mimic of a 6-year-old skull
Mm-hmm.
made by the same thing so it would react in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And an adult male FBI, ex-FBI investigator, profiler actually, struck this skull with a flashlight, and it took 3 attempts to make the same impact, right? So he had to do it three times in a row. It wasn't one hit, it was three, to
It was
get the
multiple.
same impact on the skull as what little JonBenet had on her head. So I think, and I'm with you on that Burke could not have. The flashlight was heavy, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that he hit her with it and made that kind of impact unless he hit her 4, 5, 6 times. Then it would have made the same
Yeah,
impact as the adult doing it, right? The only thing I know that he could not have done is take her from the upstairs kitchen to downstairs basement himself without anyone hearing. And when you tase someone, they scream. There is no silent tasing. This man was like 6 foot and built like a brick outhouse. And he was like,
that was
he
well done.
sounded, well, thank you very much. I'm going to take a bow at the end. He literally sounded like the Chewbacca.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there at taser demonstrations, and I've seen people being tased like right in front of my eyes, and it was like a completely safe demonstration done for all of the right reasons.
Yeah,
Um, but I've seen people being tased, and some people pee themselves when they're tased.
exactly, exactly. Like this guy sounded like the Chewbacca.
I feel
I
like
do
the
think,
tasing potentially happened after everything else, as like a frenzy attack.
yep, totally agree.
Like,
Totally agree.
and that's what speaks to me of a child's mind. Is It's like when a child's going nuts in a tantrum or anything, there is no forethought, there's no control. Everything gets thrown in at once, right?
Yep,
We've all seen a toddler's tantrum in a supermarket. Um,
yep,
and I've had many tantrums off of my children, as I'm sure every parent out there has.
yep,
And it just screams overkill and frenzy to me.
yeah. For me, I think like when I am, when I'm thinking about this case, when you hear about a case and it's overkill on an adult is bad enough, right? But a
Hmm.
defenseless, helpless 6-year-old little girl. And I can understand the whole, oh my God, I've just lost my daughter, I don't want to lose my son thing. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, right, justice for your daughter has to come. People need to learn from their actions.
Yeah.
And I do not think I would react in the same way. I honestly think I would lose my entire cool. I would not be trying to protect one child if they killed the other. You know, there is a case with a little boy called Paris who he actually killed his younger sibling. He stabbed her to death, and he was meant to be babysitting her. He was like 13 at the time, and his mum was at work. She come in for work, and he had killed his little sister. Now, he is serving a life sentence in prison in America, and he's one of America's youngest psychopaths, diagnosed psychopaths, right? That mother done the right thing. That mother, 100%, she called the police and shocked him in.
I absolutely agree, because listen, if he has the potential to take the life of someone that's that close to him, imagine what he would do with someone he has no emotion towards.
And that's what I'm saying. And I think if it was Burke Ramsey that did it, the reason he's never killed again is because of the notoriety of the case and how
Yeah.
much fame him and his family have gotten. He
Yeah.
cannot step out of line, or he will face forever in prison. The minute he like messes up or he does something wrong, he will spend forever in jail. And I
Yeah.
think that looking at all the intruder theories, right, Gypsy, looking at all the other theories that it could possibly be. Now, you're in your bed sleeping, right? You've got like a relatively large home. You are up
Mhm.
in your bed sleeping where you sleep. Your children are sleeping in a completely different area of your house. Someone comes in, they make that much noise. They then have to, thump about a body. They go to your writing desk. Are they going to spend 20 to 30 minutes writing out a intruder, like a kidnap note, like a ransom note, and then put
No,
rough drafts in
absolutely not.
the bin, and nobody in your house
Because
is
that's
waking
like
up?
40 to 60 minutes right there. If there's a rough draft in the trash, then that's 40 to 60 minutes really.
Mm-hmm.
So no, absolutely not. They're going to be in and out of there quick as a flash.
They're trying to frame a Santa Claus. This man literally played Santa. The
Actually, guys,
Ramseys literally tried to blame Santa Claus.
well, listen, Saint Nick had an alibi. It's all good.
Yeah, thankfully, because, like, can you imagine how many kids would be disappointed because the Ramseys are crackpots? Like, come on, you almost ruined everybody else's Christmases, Patsy Ramsey, you nutter. And
Oh,
even
well.
thinking that that is possible, going to the district attorney being like, I know who did it. Who was it? Santa. Can you just imagine? And I'm not trying to make light of the case, but Jesus, have a bit of common sense about you. Like, at the end of the day, you literally sat there, and I know she's not here anymore, but she knew more about the case than she admitted. And John Ramsey's still pushing for innocence now. He slept in a completely different part of the house because he was working. So he literally was like so far. This house was huge. It was like a half mansion, right? So I do believe that maybe John Ramsey didn't know anything. He was completely passed out sleeping after a few
Yeah, but
shandies the night before.
even then, even if he didn't know anything, his reaction, sitting there organizing his papers for work,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That is not a father who cares about
Nope.
his children.
No, definitely not. He has actually 2 or 3 other children from a previous marriage. One of them's actually called John Andrew. And John Andrew did a couple of interviews like years ago as well. But I do not know where any of them stand. I do know that having 2 best friends over, calling them before you call the police, and
Yeah,
then
no, that does not track one little bit. No. And also, why did they not search the entire house to double check that JonBenet was not in the house before calling the police?
yeah, and why, by the way, take a gagging order out on your best mates? Like, what do you
Right.
mean? Listen, we have an unwritten code, right?
Tell me you have
Like,
something to hide without telling me you have something to hide.
in this documentary, Gypsy, right, these police officers, now they've turned private investigators, which is why they managed to get the evidence and stuff like that, and be able to like form this team and work together. They chapped doors around the same area where JonBenet died, right? And a lot of the residents still live there, right? Because it's really
Yeah.
prominent. Houses are passed down in generation, very little gets sold. And There's a lot of people still living there, and they were chapping doors asking about the case. And do you know that every single one got slammed in their face? They will not talk. There is so many people frightened of the Ramseys, right? The Ramseys were in tight with the district attorney at the time. The police gave all of the evidence against the Ramseys to the district attorney. In Boulder, Colorado, the district attorney is the person who will determine if there is enough evidence to prosecute or not, right?
Yeah.
They gave all of the evidence to the district attorney. The district attorney was the person who said there's not enough evidence to prosecute the Ramseys and cleared them. The entirety of Boulder, Colorado lost their absolute living minds. The district attorney had to resign. But it's not what you know, right? It's who you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what happened there. It was a massive case of who you know. And the two officers that were initially sent to the scene by the police operator, they were rookies. So they were only on the job for like a year and a half, 2 years, and had never worked a serious case. So they were walking all over the house. They were chatting. They were, doing all these things. They thought they were just waiting on a phone call. And it wasn't until they found the body that they actually got the detectives involved. So by the time seasoned detectives got involved in this case, JonBenet had been moved from the basement to the coffee table to the floor. Two police officers, the Whites, the Ramseys, all been walking all over the house.
It's an actual joke.
Mhm.
It is
And
an
you can't fix
joke.
it.
No,
No.
that's non-fixable.
You cannot fix it. And this case is not going to be solved. And everybody
This
can
place
just
is
have a
going to
theory.
haunt me for the
Yeah.
rest of my living for the rest of my living years.
Mhm.
It's going to
Def-
haunt me because that is shocking.
Yeah, there is no end. There is no conclusion to this case. And everybody can have their own theory. And that's the one thing that I think is so frustrating, because you've got the people who believe the Ramseys done it, the people who stick up for the Ramseys, the people who are like the Burke did it crew. Then you've got the people who are like, Burke never did it. You've got, and do you know one thing which I'm going to touch on before we hop off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how I told you at the start the 911 operator was
Yeah,
trying to talk to Ramsey on the Patsy Ramsey on the phone? Now we heard the call, right?
yeah.
Patsy Ramsey hung up the phone before the police got there. As you can hear, she hung up the phone, right? Why would you hang up the phone before help gets there? You
You
stay on the
wouldn't.
phone for help to come, right?
Yeah.
She hung up. Now they analysed the 911 call, and basically what they got from it was Patsy in the background saying, "What did you do? What did you do?" is what they can hear her saying in the background. But that is to be interpreted because it's muffled. So it could be anything that sounds like that, but it sounded like, "What did you do? What did you do?" is what it sounds like. The 911 dispatch operator actually was given leave. She was never ever subpoenaed by the district attorney or anybody else for her statement. She was never asked for a statement whatsoever. She came out years later in the documentary. She said and reported to her superiors at the time Patsy Ramsey was not acting right. It was she was actually play acting on the phone. That she felt like something was really, really seriously wrong. Patsy Ramsey's words in the call. When she says, "What's your name?" she says, "I'm Patsy Ramsey. I'm the mother." The mother. I'm the mother. Not I'm her mother. Not I'm JonBenet's mother. She's my daughter. I'm the mother, is what she
Wow.
says. Yeah, and they've analysed this call. That 911 dispatch operator was never summoned by that district attorney. She was never asked for a statement by any of the Boulder Police Department whatsoever, and she volunteered one. She went to the police station. She was told someone would call her if they needed her. No one ever called her. She reported the call. She downloaded it and reported the call, and she is the reason that we have that call now.
That's just actually ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. This whole case is literally arse over head. There is nothing right about it from the
Honestly,
second.
like, it's almost laughable.
Yeah,
It's almost laughable how many like basic mistakes, and I wouldn't even call them mistakes. It's laughable how many basic failings there have been throughout this entire case.
And
I'm,
for
I'm,
me,
I'm blown away.
I did some investigating and actually found the Ramsey's home, and I found, like 360 views of it and pictures of
Hmm.
the inside and layouts and things like that. And I'm not going to share that because people live there now, so we
Hmm.
don't do that. But I will say something, right? Patsy Ramsey's bedroom was huge. Patsy and John's room. And there
Hmm.
was separate bathrooms and there was beauty rooms and areas all added onto this room, right? And then
Hmm.
Burke's room was down the hall and he had a room and an ensuite and all that. And then further away was JonBenet's room. And her room was Beauty and the Beast and she had her own bathroom and it was all this, right? But when you walk round the house, John and Ramsey's bedrooms are at the front.
Hmm.
Burke's bedroom's on the side, and JonBenet's bedroom is all the way on the other side at the back of the property.
That's weird.
Now, could you imagine living in a house that's a half mansion, right? And when you live in a house that big and it's just you, your husband, and your kids, and your husband works away a lot, so it's you, the nannies, and the kids, right?
Yeah,
Why would you have both of your children's bedrooms on the opposite end of the property?
I wouldn't.
Why
I'd want them
would
as close to me as possible.
Right, you would have your room first and then your kids' rooms next to it, right? So if anybody
Yep.
was to, and this is how I think, and I think it's
Youngest
a
child
mother
would be
thing,
the one closest to me.
right? Exactly. And I think this is a mother's thing because I think that they would think if somebody broke into the house, they'll come into my room first.
Hmm.
And that's how we think, right? As mothers,
Yep.
that's how we think, right? So you would, and you're right, the youngest kid would be right next to you because they're the ones who's going to be like, "What? Do you know what I mean?"
Yep.
So you would have your room, the baby's room, and then whoever else's room next to you. But your room would
Yep.
be the first room. You would be the very first room they would ever pass.
Yep.
Because listen, if you want to get to my kids, you're going to have to get past my crazy ass, right?
Yep. Unfortunately.
Unconditional or unconscious, basically. You are going to have to get past me. And no, she had this whole sweet layout of the house, and her children were just like, just jumbled about. And there was like nanny's rooms and writing rooms and his office room and the Monday room, the Tuesday room because they're so pretty little whatevers. And these children are just away back up the back. So you've got like, the kids you would need like a rope to hold on to get to the kids from there. You'd be abseiling. I've looked at the house.
Send a
Like, I'm
telegram.
telling you.
Send a telegram to communicate with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You would literally have to strap it on the arse of a pigeon. That house is a half mansion, and the kids are on the other side of the house. And that's why they're saying Burke was able to put feces and everything in JonBenet's room.
Yeah, because the nannies would have found it, not the parents, right?
And the nannies are the one that were saying that Burke had a terrible attitude and he was horrible to his sister all the time. And
Yep.
Patsy Ramsey even admitted that Burke Ramsey clapped her right in the jaw with a golf club, and she had to cover it all up for one of the pageants. A total black eye on a 6-year-old.
I mean, listen, I get it. My kids have done vile things to each other. Like I've got 5 boys, and they've done some absolutely ridiculous things to each other. But there is a limit.
Mm-hmm.
There is a limit to where they will go, and if there is chaos, I will always hear it, and I will always take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if 2 of my kids are having an argument, you best believe I'm in the middle of them.
Yeah. But this bitch literally had to abseill to go and check on her kids around her house. I'm like, excuse me? Like, it is just so prissy and poncy, it's ridiculous. And she's
Um,
trying to say, but an intruder came in and I would never have heard it because, I stay on the top floor and the kids stay in London. So how was I meant to hear it? Well, do a better bloody job.
mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, actually, like, act your age and go and make sure your kids are okay, you fucking fossil.
There was such thing as children like monitoring systems for children's bedrooms then.
Yeah,
Like
the little walkie things and the little camera
yeah,
things that you got for, yeah. But you
If
know,
I
this
could
bitch
afford
was
them
too
for my
busy brushing her hair and trying on all her old crowns because she was a used to be.
if I could afford them 20 years ago for my kids, and trust me, I was a single parent, no money. If I could afford them for my house, she sure as shit could afford them for hers.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, that's the stuff that frustrates me about this case, is that it's completely and utterly preventable.
Yep.
See, the minute she knew, was informed or seen, right, that Burke Ramsey was treating his sister like this, or there was paedophiles at the beauty pageant show, how's about we deal with that?
Yep.
How's about, instead of bleaching our 6-year-old's hair and putting red lipstick on her and making her out there looking like a paedophile's dream, how's about we treat her like a 6-year-old and we allow her hair to be whatever her hair is, because she'll be beautiful in any form or shape that she comes in? How's
Hmm.
about we put some trainers on her, give her a ball or a bike, and let her go outside and have fun with her friends? How's about we speak to our oldest child, who clearly needs some attention, and sort that issue out? How's
Yep.
about we speak to the nannies and work with them and not against them, and spend less time looking in the mirror and more time looking at your children? And how's about we spend less time trying to blame Santa?
Hashtag save Santa.
Right? Hashtag save Santa, guys. That is it. I'm done. Like, old Saint Nick Patsy's a prick. It infuriates me, this whole case does, my Jips. But before we check out, guys, Jips, you want to tell them about this new cool weekend event that we've got coming up on the channel?
Yes, we have. Listen, I went down the rabbit hole of the Jack the Ripper case, which is a famous. It's a case that's famous worldwide. But I went down the rabbit hole and I carried on digging.
Yep.
So the information that I've brought is it's going to need to be a two-parter. So we decided that we are going to have the Whitechapel weekend on the weekend of the 18th and 19th of July. So not this weekend coming, the one after. And we are going to be premiering both episodes live. And we will be sitting there chatting with you guys while we all watch it together.
Yes.
So we have Whitechapel weekend coming up.
Yes, we do.
Wait. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
I'm really excited for this one. Now, guys, I have got to tell you something. We are going to have to put a huge trigger warning on there, because you know that we would never degrade anybody that's been passed away, and we would never do any of those things, right? But at the end of the day, we're a true crime channel when we report on true crime. So if you don't want true crime, go somewhere else, right? So if you're gonna act like a pussy, you get treated like a pussy, because your gal's got all the pictures of the dead bodies and all the Ripper victims and possible victims, and they're going to be on the screen. You're going to get to see actual police evidence
This is
from the
public information. It is
1800s.
it's
Well,
public
yeah, you're not
information.
Jack the fucking Ripper, babe. You never
Yeah.
took them yourself.
No, true. But it is public information.
Yeah, well, we'll let you all know that we did not time travel, end up as Jack the Ripper, and then, like, steal the evidence.
No. No.
Although, you know, if I could go anywhere, I'd probably go to Enfield. I'm just saying, that was a really cool case.
Well, listen,
But I am excited for this one.
I grew up with stories about Jack the Ripper. You know, I was told don't go out after dark because the Ripper will get you. And the Ripper was dressed up as this like phantom, like spiritual being, like the similar to the boogeyman.
Yeah.
I grew up in southeast London, which is literally a hop, skip, and a jump over the river from East London. Whitechapel.
Yes.
Literally, if you can cross the river, you can get there. And you know, he was a spectre to us as kids.
Yep.
So you know, this is something that I found really, really interesting.
Grab your popcorn, guys. Come and get comfy with us, because we're going to be watching it for the first time with you guys. And we'll be chatting about it as we watch it, you know,
Yep.
talking about how amazing we are, what a great job we've done, how we love all the graphics, because, you know, Gypsy Quinn Media forever. Just saying.
Yep.
Any chance is a chance to promote, you know.
Yeah.
You've got to take it whilst you can get it, Gypsy, my gal, because you never know, you might end up like Patsy Ramsey, old and over it. So, you know, any chance to promote is a chance to promote. But if you like sarcasm and true crime, this is the place for you. That will be the place for you. We will keep you a seat, okay? Come and join us. Watch the live premiere. Have all of the fun. Look at all of the bodies and actually scratch that little weird wicked itch that you've got that we all have. Come and do it safely. Come and have a giggle. And until next time, we have been Gypsy and Quinn. You have been amazing. We have been even better. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Good vibes and bad decisions.